Welcome into the PHNX Bets Daily Podcast, presented to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined by Shawn. Sexy Shawn, downtown PHNX Studios in Phoenix. No Shano today, so we're going to talk big boy college football in his absence. And Shawn, you were the benefactor of one Sun Devil upset special last Saturday. How does it feel now moving forward? Can we trust this team sans Herm Edwards' departure?
I think so. I mean, look, they had one bad loss to Eastern Michigan, and I think that was in large part because of Herm Edwards. He's gone. The players are bought in, and they only lost to the two best teams in the conference, and then they went and beat Washington. I think this team is a lot more talented than their record, and I think the rest of the country would suggest. I think they're talented. Obviously, they're still, they're not your USC, Utah. I think if you play this Washington game 9 or 10 times, Washington wins 9 of them. But they're better than Arizona. They're better than Stanford. They're better than Cal. They're better than Colorado. I think that's kind of where they slotted in this conference. So I think there's going to be some good games. They come back next week against Stanford, and I think that's a game you should expect ASU to win.
They're off this week. I wanted to give them some love, gave them some love in the thumbnail. Are they going to be bowl eligible by the end of the season? We'll see. But just this landscape of the Pac-12, I got 1 week everybody telling me Utah can't be beat. Now we've got Chip Kelly, resurrected from the dead with this UCLA program where everybody was talking about his buyout after a week this year. And then, of course, my guy Lincoln Riley, Kyler Murray's kingmaker, kicking ass at USC. Like, what do you make of with the Pac-12 in general, and where do you think the smart money is to win the conference? At the end of the year, you're thinking about putting a little money down on DraftKings with a Pac-12 championship winner. Who's that going to be in Shawn DePaz's mind?
It's tough. I think a lot of it depends on what happens with this Utah-USC game this weekend. I think value-wise, Utah or UCLA is probably the pick there, just because they have the record. Utah has had now 2 losses. I think UCLA is going to end up being in the Pac-12 championship. USC is the best team in the conference. I don't think there's much question about that now. They have the best quarterback in the conference, the best offense in the conference. Their defense still worries me, so they could definitely end up losing. So I think that UCLA is probably the smart money. DRT is just he's super talented, and I think quarterback play can get you really far in this conference. So I would not be surprised if UCLA ends up being the Pac-12 champions when it's all said and done.
I've made I don't think you and I have talked about this, but I've made this comparison with Lincoln Riley at USC this year to Urban Meyer's first year at Ohio State. If you remember that first year at Ohio State, didn't have his talent, right? Yeah. Was not bowl eligible. The program was on suspension from bowl games that year. And what did Urban Meyer do? They went out and they went 12-0 in the Big Ten at Ohio State. I don't know if Lincoln Riley's going to go undefeated. Certainly, if he gets to the Final Four, he's not going undefeated, in my opinion. But I do feel like he is taking somebody else's players, albeit a talented group. I mean, we're seeing the talent that was underutilized under the former regimes here at USC and what he's able to do with it. I'm with you. I've said it for weeks. I think they're going to win. I think they're the best coach team in the Pac-12, and you combine that with talent. I mean, is it a farce to say he's getting better caliber players, more talent than he did at Oklahoma? And now we're seeing fraud Brent Venables not win with that same talent.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So we're going to talk about this Saturday, but I wanted just to spend a little bit of time breaking down the Pac-12 with Nobody Knows It Better, Shawn and company. They do a fantastic job at the ASU Sun Devil Show every day. And if you want to dabble on ASU in 2 weeks, or you want to dabble this weekend with our bets, you can do it on DraftKings. New customers can bet just $5 on any team to win, get $200 back in free bets if they do. Lost a lot of money betting on the NFL recently, Shawn. I may sit this weekend out. I may not. Shane told me he's going to bet through it. We were live betting the games on Sunday. It did not work out. Your jacket's a fantastic piece. Maybe I'll just hawk that for some money and use it on DraftKings. But speaking of DraftKings, if that's not enough, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings. Step up same game parlays. Right now, for every leg you add, you can boost your winnings up to 100%. With payouts bigger than ever, why would you bet on football anywhere else? You wouldn't. And to make things even sweeter, you can throw down on the step up same game parlays once per game day all season long. It's fantastic. You can dabble Monday Night Football, Thursday night, Saturday, Sunday. There is literally every day of the week, damn near. We're going to get these MAC games. What is it? The MAC games on Wednesday, Pac-12 after dark. You can dabble on DraftKings. It's simple. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code PHNX. That's promo code PHNX on DraftKings Sportsbook app. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See those show notes for details. All right, Shawn, what do you like going into this Saturday? ASU's off. You get a little bit of a breather. Looking objectively at the board, what do you like?
Yeah, I mean, I got to start with the alma mater. I want to keep rocking with them until they give me a reason otherwise. This is their prove it game. The strongest opponent they'll have played this year in North Carolina State. North Carolina State's coming into the Dome. I'm going to keep rocking with them until I have a reason to believe otherwise.
Does Syracuse play all their games at home? I feel like every game they've played this year has been in their building.
They do tend to have a pretty non-conference. Their non-conference schedule does tend to be pretty home game heavy. They like to get people in the Dome. But I don't know how their conference schedule shapes up. I'll have to look at that. But the Dome is a tough place to play when you get the fans bought in. I think they're bought in at this point. So I like them -3.5. Rocky Top +7.5. Listen, I said it at the beginning of the season. This Tennessee team is good. I have to. I'm not going to say they're back yet. It scares me, but the Tennessee is a really well-coached team. They have a really good offense, one of the most efficient offenses in college football. We don't know what Bryce Young is going to look like coming back from the injury, but I have to assume he's going to play in this game because he was listed as the starter. I mean, Nick Saban pulled the fast one on us, but he was listed as the starter this past Saturday, and then ended up not playing. So we'll have to see. And then Washington -14 against Arizona. Arizona's not a good team. They have a couple of talented pieces on offense. But Washington has one of the best quarterbacks in the nation in Michael Penix Jr. That offense is never a problem. That offense has always managed to put up points. Their losses is just because their defense hasn't held strong. I feel like their defense is going to come out with a vengeance. Michael Penix Jr. is going to come out with a vengeance, and they're going to blow Arizona out. So I like Washington -14. Then USC money line. I was one of those people you mentioned earlier about Utah being the truth. I thought they were the best team in the conference. I can't make that statement in good faith anymore. USC just is too much firepower. I think this offense I feel like it's going to be a high scoring game because Cam Rising and that offense, the Utah offense tends to play to their opponent, but Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison, all those guys are going to be a little bit too much to keep up with. And then Washington State money line. Oregon State is just like Utah. They're a team that I thought could end up winning this conference. They've proven to be a little fraudulent. They don't have a quarterback. Their offense is just not good. Their defense is pretty good, but Washington State's defense is a little bit better. They're more efficient. When all things are even, I'm going to come back to the quarterback play. Transfer quarterback Cam Ward has been amazing for Washington State. If he plays well, that team I think is going to end up winning against Oregon State outright. So I like my Washington State money line pick.
Feels like a bad weekend to be Arizona after what just happened with Washington last week. And
absolutely.
It's like in-state team. And it's just, I feel like you're right. Like Arizona's not a great team. I still think they could find their way to bowl eligibility at the end of the year if things break right. But man, like the ASU didn't do them any favors last week, because if you don't think Washington's going to be hyper-focused to beat the holy hell out of the folks down in Tucson, I don't know what to tell you. But I like your bets. We're on the same page with a lot of them. I expanded mine a little bit to Big Ten territory. We can check those out now. Michigan is going to beat the crap. I'm telling you, beat the holy hell out of Penn State this week.
I don't know.
Right? That over is gross. That 52 over. Michigan's defense is still top 10 in the country. I know people are. I like Penn State and their program. I think they've probably surprised some people this year, overachieved. But Michigan is, in my opinion, still the class of the Big Ten. Their quarterback play is superior. 52.5. I would say take the under. I think this game's going to be something to the effect of like 28-10. It seems about right. I don't see Penn State doing much offensively. Oklahoma. We've talked about fraud. Brent Venables ad nauseum. He's the first Oklahoma coach in like 100 years to lose 3 straight conference games. Let's make it 4. I think Kansas beats them outright. You can get Kansas right now on DraftKings plus 250. Brent Venables is going to be unemployed at the end of the year. He's going to go back to the ACC with Clemson. I think he gets fired. This is the game to do it. Kansas just once upon a time was undefeated, was a great story. I think they get the W in Oklahoma, in Norman. Kansas is going to go into that game so loose, playing with house money this year. They've already superseded expectations. Everybody's going to have tight ass in Oklahoma, including their fans. No one's going to play well, and I think they lose. And I think I like the Illini right now, first time ranked in over a decade, plus 6.5. Listen, that the optics of last week's 9-6 win over Iowa without a touchdown isn't great. But give me Brent Bielema at home against Minnesota. I'm not confident enough to take the money line yet, but I do think it'll be a one possession game. The over-under for that game is a gross 39.5. But I like Illinois. Here are a couple more picks out west that I like. USC money line. You talked about it. Gave a great breakdown. They have the best quarterback in the conference. This is the best team. I think they are Final Four bound. I think they win the Pac-12. I think they can still win the Pac-12 and get to the Final Four even with one conference loss. Give it to them. We talked about the poor son bitches down in Tucson. It's not going to go well for U of A this weekend. And I hate that because I want their program to do well for the sanctity of our network here, for our GM Saul Bookman. But man, oh man, Washington, what they're going to do this weekend, you might want to tease that up to what, 21? Don't tell Mike Luke I said this. 21, 22 points. They are so supremely more talented than U of A. And last week, what happened against, I forget who they played last week.
Oregon.
They gave up, I think, almost 350 yards rushing, over a touchdown, almost a first down per carry. Their yards per carry in the country is amongst the worst. They cannot stop the run. The hog mollies for Washington are going to be licking their chops. Saul and I talked about it on the PHNX tailgate show. U of A is ahead of schedule with the rebuild, but they do not have the elite offensive and defensive line to control the line of scrimmage. Washington is just going to line up and pound the holy hell out of our friends down in Tucson. So I hate seeing that. I love seeing you, Shawn. Thanks so much for hopping on today, my guy.
Of course. I do have to say, the Kansas and Illinois picks, they worry me for similar reasons, and it's the quarterback play. No Jalen Daniels, most likely, for Kansas. And Illinois, their quarterback is none other than Tommy DeVito, the little New Jersey Shore rat transfer from Syracuse.
Son of Danny?
No, not Danny. Not Danny, but it might as well be. I hate Tommy DeVito. He was terrible at Syracuse, and now look what Syracuse is doing without him. Don't like either of those. But like you said, I love the USC. I love the Washington. That might be like a 42-14 game for the Huskies down in Tucson.
I think we're gonna start to hear some press clippings next week if Kansas pulls off this update. Like, players are quitting on Brent Venables. Players don't want him around. They haven't bought into a system. If you can't go to a program and at least get right your side of the ball, if I'm Brent Venables, like, we're scoring. Well, before last week, before they were shut out, we were scoring points. They can't stop anybody. So I think Kansas has their way even without their quarterback.
And one way to piss off the Oklahoma loyalists is to get embarrassed by Texas and then lose to a non-football program, quote unquote non-football program in conference. I think that would be the final nail in the coffin for sure.
It's going to be one of those things where if Oklahoma gets down early, like 7-0, the doubt will start to creep in. Where I worry about that game is if they somehow get off to a fast start, then I think they roll. But Kansas, man, I'm into them. I'm not into Oklahoma. Could they not have paid Lincoln Riley enough to stay? The hindsight, not always 2020. I think they thought they could do better, which is laughable because I think Lincoln Riley's got a date for the Final Four, which coincidentally enough, he used to do all the time at Oklahoma. We're hanging out here. PHNX Bets is live every day at noon. My guy, Shawn, thank you so much for filling in for old Shano, who should be back tomorrow. Got more NFL on tap. Man, turn around. We're going to have Suns ready to tip off. We've got Coyotes right around the corner. Please teach me about hockey. I don't know anything, but I do know.
Bet the over and whoever the Coyotes are playing.
Oh, no. Well, listen, that was our motto last year. That's how I got through the season.
Yes, sir.
You can get through this show by liking, subscribing, leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcasts. Peace, love, and I don't know, peace America with Shawn Sweatshirt.
Peace, love, and beat the piss out of the Arizona Wildcats.
Oh, no.